Hello, everyone, and welcome to Four Lads Rangers midweek live show with myself and Kenny. Kenny, how are you, mate? You well?
I am, mate. Yes. The nice wee day off to myself. Did everything I needed to do by lunchtime. Made a curry for me and Tracy. And apart from that, I've spent most of the day on my phone, so my eyes are nipping. So all
Well,
good.
I had a chicken salad for dinner. Now I say salad, like I don't really do tomatoes and cucumbers and all that sort of stuff. It's more just like chicken, lettuce, some bits of bacon, which I quite like, with a peri sauce on it, and it was really tasty actually. So that was the extent of my dinner, Kenny. You're always cooking curries and all that sort of stuff. I can't keep up with you. I can't keep up with you. But Rangers are finally within a couple of days of being back. It feels like it's been a long couple of weeks without them. Whether we're feeling about that on Saturday, let's hope we are. The international players, Kenny, have all went away and done fantastic.
They have, haven't they? And all contributing, lots of them scoring goals. Cornelius' free kick last night was an absolute peach. Yeah, John Souttar's done well for Scotland. Every one of them seems to have got plenty of game time and done really well, mate. So here's hoping they can bring their international form to their club.
Yeah, so let's have a wee look at the kind of players over the last couple of days. Kenny, Nico Raskin starting and scoring in a 6-0 victory for Belgium over Kazakhstan. His first goal for Belgium. John Souttar starting both games for Scotland. Interestingly, Kenny, on the right-hand side, defended really well. I watched both 90 minutes. He was good, but it was no thrills, John Souttar. Didn't ask him to play, didn't ask him to, just ask him to defend, which he's good at. And I've been given it trouble for saying that before, but I feel that John Souttar is a very good siege defender. Is he world class at anything? No, but he's a very good siege defender when he's asked to just defend. Comfortable on the right hand side. Cornelius, we seen last night. That was a beaut, and I wondered why I didn't watch. I was sleeping last night. Joys of working, Kenny, and I got tagged in loads of stuff online, and I went on and noticed it was Canada, and I was like, surely this isn't him. And what a free kick that was! Absolute beauty. It reminded me a wee bit of Barisic, an old Barisic effort, because that's what he used to hit them like. Telo Asgard just the 4 for Norway against Moldova in an 11-1 win. Nadim Bayrami started for Albania. They're second in the group behind England. Bojan Majowski started in Liechtenstein against Liechtenstein, a 5-1 win. Ant-Man started in a 3-1 defeat for Finland against Poland. Jayden Meghoma started for England under-20s in a 2-0 defeat to Italy. And Finlay Curtis played in both defeats suffered by Scotland under-21s. So as far as we know, everybody's fit and healthy and on their way back. Hopefully it stays like that. I think the biggest thing, Telo Asgard's 4 goals for Norway was pretty incredible. But I think what it shows for us, Kenny, we've got good players. And if they can just get their form together for Rangers and start clicking, and that's never going to happen instantly anyway. So there needs to be a wee bit of realisation with that. But if we can get the form, and hopefully these guys can take some positives and morale boosting from their kind of international exploits, then hopefully will help us come domestic stuff.
You'd certainly hope so, Stevie. That every one of them seems to have went away, went to their camps and done pretty well. As you say, the Telo Asgard thing was kind of nuts. I've seen the 4 goals, and the last one's cheeky as hell. That's a lovely wee finish. And, he scored 4 goals in, I think it was less than half an hour, 25 minutes or something like that. Don't fancy Moldova much right enough if you're losing 11 in one game, to be fair. But you're right about John Souttar. He did really well, particularly in the game against Denmark, where it was kind of backs to the wall. And he did what he does best, doesn't he? That's what he does. If you get him behind the ball and just facing it, he's all right doing that. So, and as you say, on the right-hand side, we keep talking about that. We don't want to see him on the left. It's not a left-sided centre-half. And everybody seems to have done well. And it does show you and prove to, everybody that these guys have played at a high level. These are World Cup qualifiers. These are high intensity huge pressure games, and they're all turning up and doing well for their nations, for their countries, Stevie. And if they could turn up and we can just get this team moving, then we can see you playing as you like. The players are there, and the players can cause plenty of damage in this league, Stevie. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I think the thing is, like, Tello Asgard, had a really good record in the Championship. He got that move, wasn't there for long, and then Rangers swooped in the summer. So he's capable. We know he's capable of scoring goals. 4 goals for Moldova, and people, you maybe look at them and they're all interesting finishes because they're all within the box. They're all with past the penalty spot. And we've not seen him get into the box yet for us. We've not seen much of him, to be fair. So I'm hoping that he takes a lot from that, more fitness away from the camp for a couple of weeks and, intense fitness with Norway and training. I'm hoping he takes a lot from that because we do have good players. A lot of people, talking about the squad, and it's baseless at the moment because we haven't shown it. And you cannot draw 4 games in the league and sit here and say you've got a stronger squad, but I feel like we do. There's no way in my mind that Gassama, Ant-Man, Tello Asgard, Bojan Majovski don't make Rangers a stronger team. So, yeah, and there's others that need to step up, Kenny, but we need to translate that now. Now's the time. I think this is why I said about a crucial run. This really is now the time that Rangers need to start clicking, need to start showing on the park and build from the defensive side of it that we had against Celtic, which was, at least it was more organised and much improved. There was not much at the other side, but they need to keep making those steps and strides forward because they can't afford to drop any more points, even this early.
No, we can't. We need to start winning. It is that simple. We just need to get on a run. But I do genuinely feel, Steve, if we can start the ball rolling and get a kick on, if you like, then when you look at boys like Gassama and Mikey Moore, and who we haven't mentioned there, but he's a wonder kid down south. The potential in this boy is phenomenal. It'll be interesting to see Cornelius, whether he comes right into the team on the left-hand side. I would hope so. We have a good team. On paper, there is no doubt in this for me that I look at the squad just now, and I genuinely do think that it's a better squad than we've had over the last 2 or 3 seasons. And it's up to the head coach and the players to prove it. And I genuinely don't think it's far away, Stevie. That's the one thing I would say, that although it feels like a million miles away, I think one really good performance, one really good win where we rack in 3 or 4 goals will kick this team on. And listen, I don't like talking about the team across the city, but if we can get right on their coattails here at the start of the season, we have an opportunity to make ourselves have a great season and do good things, because they're all at sea a little bit. Now, they're still winning, and that's the issue that we have. For all the behind the scenes, they're a bit of a shambles. They know how to win, Stevie. So the quicker we get ourselves into that position, the better, because behind the scenes, we are much better than we are. And Stevie, my door's just gone. Give me 2 seconds, mate. I'm really...
Oh, the Avon guys here for Kenny. Typical. What I would say about that is, I think as a support, and you guys can tell me in the comments if you feel similar, I'm sick of hearing how good we are on paper. I'm sick of hearing how good a summer we've had. I want us to go and prove it. I want us to go and show it. And Saturday, I think from that point of view, that was the quickest door answer in ever, Kenny, but we'll come to that in a minute. But from my point of view, one good result you're hoping will spark it. If they can get that against Hearts, you get a wee bit of confidence and then go from there. But it has to start translating, because look, as much as Celtic are having their trouble at the moment off the pitch, their fans seem to be quite upset. They've had a disaster in the Champions League qualifiers, and all that's fine. But they will still go to Kilmarnock on Sunday and win 2-0, and they'll make it look fairly routine, and they'll churn it out. We do not have the ability to do that yet. And until we do that, they will remain a million miles away from us. And unfortunately, that's credit to them. But for us, we need to be there, Kenny. And that's what we need to be doing, turning that kind of routine results into what we can do normally. Steven Gerrard actually nailed it. I remember beating Hamilton, I think 8-0 at Ibrox. And then you would, in that same season, we won 1-0 at Livingston. We won, I think there was a spate of games actually. I would need to go back and check that we were winning 1-0. And there was quite a few games like that. And that's, if we're going to win things, what we need to do.
It absolutely is. You start at the back, mate. You keep clean sheets, and with the attacking players that we have, we will win games once it clicks. I've no doubt in my mind about that. The issue we have, as you say, is that Celtic will keep winning, whether they are all at sea or not. They have the wherewithal, and the know-how to win domestic games and win them in a regular occurrence. They do it week in, week out, and when they drop points, it's more of a surprise than anything. The issue, or the scenario I'd like to see, Stevie, is we're 6 points behind at this minute in time. If we could cut that to 4 and then cut it to 2, and all of a sudden see the pressure that you know what it's like for us when we go behind, or we're at top of that league. The pressure is always on the other side in a massive way, and it comes from themselves. It comes from their own supporters. You see what we're like all the time. We're sitting there. The Dundee game's a prime example here, actually, that you're sitting watching it and you're pulling, I don't have any hair, but you're pulling your hair out if you did have any, because you just think this is and I don't like being disrespectful, but it's a bread and butter game, Stevie, that you have to win. And when you drop these points, all you're doing is taking all the pressure off of them. And that's the point I would make about this, is that, yes, they have this incredible habit, but we've seen it when we won the league a few years back, Stevie, that the minute the pressure goes onto them, it just flips. And the pressure that we feel year in, year out, trying to catch them, just the boot goes in the other foot, so to speak, and we'll see how they cope with it. And as I say, I'm not convinced with the way things are over there that they would do. They would cope with it as well as they would expect to.
Yeah, but we have to be in the position to do that, and we don't want to focus on them or talk about them. Unfortunately for us, they keep winning. Until that stops and until we turn routine wins into just that for Rangers, we'll continue to be where we are, and that's something that we need to focus on ourselves. Hearts is a great opportunity to do that. We'll talk a wee bit more about that just in a minute, Kenny. Other news today, reported this evening, Rangers have been fined €20,000 and banned from selling any away tickets in UEFA competition after the lighting of fireworks away to Club Brugge. The ban on selling tickets to away supporters is suspended during a probationary period of 2 years from the date of the decision. I'm going to bring up just a comment here from Natalie early on in the show. She was asking, can somebody explain to me what a suspended ban means? What this basically means, Kenny, as you well know, things continue as normal, and we can sell away tickets at the moment. The first sign of any fireworks, any pyro, anything like that, then that suspended ban becomes live. So it's a bit like being in probation, basically. If you breach that, you're off to jail. Well, this is very similar. In the case of, if we breach that, you will mean that we cannot sell any away tickets. We're already under a probation for a suspended ban for Ibrox for the Copland Road stand. We know that UEFA are watching. We can't afford this, Kenny. We can't, even aside of the money side of it and everything else, the financial side, we can't afford this as a football club to still be happening. I'm all for safe pyro and things. I really think it should be explored. It brings so much to the game, but it has to be safe. And if it's outlawed, then we can't keep doing it, because ultimately we're now on our last life, home and away, from getting a severe ban in Europe. And I don't want to be turning up at Ibrox to see the Copeland stand shut. And I don't want to not be able to go on a away trip in Europe because we can't get any tickets. There needs to be a wee bit of a mature outlook to this, and just say, it's difficult as it is, and understand the kind of ultra side to it, and whoever else wants to do whatever, but we can't. If we do it and it goes any further, then those sanctions are exactly what's going to happen.
Yes, and that's not good for anybody. And I think the issue I have with that, actually, more than even just a one game ban, I think it goes up incrementally. If you go and do it again, once you take your ban and you're allowed back in, I think the punishment's even more severe, Stevie. So we are, it just gets more and more severe the more and more you do it. And that's not to mention just the money that it's coming out the coffers at the club. It's crazy. And I'm like you. I understand. I like the pyro. I think it looks fantastic. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and complain about it, because I do think it looks brilliant in the stadium. But I'm with you on that we need to kind of consider how we go about this, and maybe a bit of dialogue between the young lads and I know their relationship's not great with this board at this moment in time, but I think perhaps a bit of dialogue and trying to figure something out in terms of, say, pyro, because I don't know what else to say about this, Stevie, apart from the fact that, yeah, we are. I think we're very close now, aren't we? I think the Copeland's going to get shut. I think if it happens again, in a European game, and now we're talking about bans. I think it was the Feyenoord game a few years back, if you remember, there was a section of the Broomloan was shut as well, if you remember that. We have not got a good reputation with UEFA with us at this minute in time, so we're going to have to get it sorted. And I think the only way you can do that, Stevie, because I like you, I agree with you, I like the pyro, I do. However, I think that the safe pyro is going to have to be looked at, and that might cost a lot of money. I have no idea how much these things cost, Stevie, but for the sake of the away support in this one, and you know yourself, mate, you'll know plenty of boys that go to a lot of the away trips, and they're cracking away. I've not done them for years, mate, so I can't comment on recent times, but in my times when I went away, they were just fantastic. So here's hoping that everybody just gets round the table and gets this sorted. Stevie, I don't know much else to say on it.
No, and I don't think there is much else to say on it, regardless of how we feel and if we like it or not. And as we both said, it adds so much to the atmosphere, and I would love to see a solution where there's safe pyro that's allowed and everyone kind of champions it. But UEFA have got a hard on for us over this, and if it carries on, then ultimately Ibrox will start getting shut and we won't have fans to travel. Whether or not, and there's a few comments say, would it happen to Real Madrid fans in that? Would it happen to Man City? Whatever. I don't know. But I'm not interested, because this is Rangers and this is right in front of us. And I don't want to be in a situation where we're the ones having to suffer at the hands of that. Now, actually, we were pretty good in an empty stadium. I hear you all saying a few jokes about that in the comments. I get it. But for a fan supporter's point of view, I don't think there's an alternative.
Stevie, it's UEFA's ball. Whether we like it or not, they dictate this. And whether Real Madrid or Man City or Liverpool or Bayern Munich or whatever would get banned, probably not. But they're whether we like it or not here, mate, they're getting treated in a different way. And they do get treated in a different way. And I understand people's frustrations with it. But that's the rules. They make them, and it's up to them. And whether we like it or not, we're just going to have to screw the nut on this, or people are going to be punished for it, and unfairly punished for it. And that's the thing that kind of pisses me off about it, is that, yeah, you get what, and I'm not here to criticise anybody for doing this, by the way. I genuinely mean this, because I do understand it. The point I'm making is that when you do it, you're punishing other. You're going to ultimately end up punishing other people for doing it, and I just hope we can screw the nut and sort that out.
Yeah, let's talk about something else, Kenny. We've had some quite strong feedback on the podcast from a few people that watch, and we love the feedback. We love to know what people think. We love to get people's questions and things like that. And there's been a couple of things said that I want to kind of address and discuss, and I think you were very much the same. We got accused of this being a Russell Martin is this a Rangers pod or is it a podcast that hates Russell Martin? Which I dispute. We tried as much as possible to support Russell Martin. I think in terms, I mean, we could have sat here and said, we don't want him, we want him out. We could have spat the dummy early and said, this isn't working, etc. We didn't. We reacted after Bruges, not because we got beat by Bruges, but because of the manner of it. We've not won a league game yet out of 4. We failed to have a shot on target against Celtic. And it's fair to say that when we podcast, it's how we're feeling at the time, Kenny. We're at the games, and it's often led by that. And I think as well that it would be disingenuous to come on here and try and polish it and sound like, because then you get the other side of it. We're called happy clappers. People were saying, why aren't you talking about getting Russell Martin out on tonight's pod? It's such a fine line, and I don't think any of us hate Russell Martin, but I think we're all sitting here going, Bruges was a disaster, the performance levels on both games. The league has been uninspiring. At times it's been really difficult to watch. And we need a lot better. And yes, we can sit and go and wonder about what's going to happen in the games coming up. But to be positive with that, we've got to be given something to be positive about. And we're waiting, Kenny. Remember, you were with me at Bruges at home at Ibrox, and when it went 3-1 and Danilo scored, the reaction of the fans was incredible. And we both said it. The fans are literally craving and dying to get behind something. And they really are. And it's no different on this podcast. And I'm not sitting here. I would love nothing more than Russell Martin to get this right, is to start fixing it, Nico Raskin back in the team and everything else. And then Rangers to start winning, because that ultimately is all that matters. But it would be ridiculous to sit here and say we've been brilliant, etc. So how do you get the balance right is a question to everybody, and the question to you as well, because even in the comments tonight, you can see it all the time. We're talking about the players, and all the comments are, it doesn't matter who's playing, doesn't matter the players, because of the manager. I don't think we feel like we sit here and say that kind of stuff, but sometimes it's unavoidable when you have the level that we've had.
We've won 3 out of our 11 games, Stevie. One of them was against Alloa, which, with all respect to Alloa, is a little bit of a gimme. One of those games was the Panathinaikos game, where there could have been 3-0 up at half-time. We've had a very good performance against Victoria Pilsen. We've had some patches in games. Now, I'm like you. I want Russell Martin to be a massive success, and we come on here and we celebrate and chat about 3, 4, 5-0 wins every week. Nothing would be better for us than that. The issue is to give guys, and the guys, ladies and gents in here, an insight. I messaged you today, I can't remember what time it was, and I said, what we're going to talk about. There's nothing to talk about at this minute in time, bar the manager or Nico Raskin or the international break, because nothing's happened for the last week or so. And that's the truth of it. There's absolutely nothing happened. So when we decide that we don't even decide, I'll rephrase that. When we sit there and talk about Russell Martin, and I was a little bit disparaging about him the other night, and I was in it. I've watched it back just to make sure, because I seen the comments and I thought, right, I need to check that. And I'll stand by what I said. That's the kind of problem that we have, Stevie, is that we can't come on here and say nothing for half an hour or 45 minutes, and we can't sit here and pretend everything's rosy in the garden for a 45 minutes, when at the end of the day we haven't won a league game. We've been roasted 6-0 in one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen. But we have to take a context to it, and then that's what we try and do. We're not trying to be unreasonable. We're not trying to stick the boot into a manager or a head coach for the sake of it. The players need to take their share of responsibility, particularly that Bruges game. I thought they were appalling. Every one of them, bar Jack Butland, I thought had chucked it, basically. So we're just trying to be honest. And sometimes with the likes of Monday Night Show, I think Davey sat there and just listened to the two of us have a rant. Well, not so much a rant, but a little bit of a moan. And I think this is the point I would make, Stevie, is that you're asking me a question and there's not really any answer to it, because all we can do is be ourselves and be honest, and that's all we're trying to do. And to the guy that told me I had no brain the other day, that you sound like my missus, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's just us talking, mate. It's not. Well, nobody. We are fully aware when we chat like this. It's a chat, and nobody is in on Four Lads is under any illusions that you'll agree with some people, you won't agree with others. You'll agree with some of the things I say, and you'll just detest everything I say. We're all fully aware of it. It's putting your neck on the line a little bit, coming on and doing this. I personally mean Russell Martin no harm whatsoever as a person and as a human being. I've only seen him a few times in press conferences, and he comes across pretty well to me. However, this is a results-driven business, and we have to speak about that in as honest a manner as we possibly can, Stevie. That's what I would say to it.
I've spoken to you about this before, and it makes no difference. Russell Martin's a tremendous guy. He's one of the nicest guys you'll meet. He is, and when you speak to him, I don't know what he's like as a manager, and people obviously say he's arrogant and things like that. I don't feel he's ever been arrogant with me. I don't feel he comes across like that. He sits and he's very self-deprecating, and we have a laugh. And I've met him now 3-4 times. I really like him, but that's separate. It's separate from being a football manager. I told him on day one that, you know, we aren't there to be your friend. We aren't there. We're there to call it as we see it. And sometimes that's going to be difficult. Sometimes the questions will be emotional. Sometimes it'll be raw. But it's supposed to be real. And that's the point of it. And it's not easy. And the point in talking about this tonight, Kenny, was because it's a weird thing that, you know, you get so much feedback. The more popular it's got, the more feedback you get. And it's difficult, but we want it to be a podcast that people enjoy, not because they can't give opinion or can't give comments or whatever, everything else, but you're allowed to do that. And it's not, somebody said to me as well that it's my way or the highway. I don't believe it is. My point on Russell Martin has always been, I think we're pissing into the wind a wee bit, because I don't think the management see it that way. And I don't think the owners see it that way now. I think that he'll get a lot of time, whether we like it or not. I can see that swinging slightly because of, I think, the gravitas of the fans and the way they feel, and potentially crowds begin to dwindle. I think that might change quicker than we maybe anticipated it, because I never felt that the feeling towards Russell Martin in the stands would be as heavy as quickly as it is now. Perhaps after that friendly with Bruges in the summer, we should have been more aware of that. But it's difficult because you have to come on and be honest. I genuinely, on the gantry on Saturday, all I want to do is watch Rangers play well and turn up and enjoy the football. I don't need them to win 4-5-0. I would settle for any manner of 3 points at this moment in time, but I want to be entertained by it. I want to be excited. We've got a hell of a European group coming up in terms of opportunities and big games, Porto away, Roma at home, etc. These are all star-studded games that I'm really looking forward to, Kenny. We should be able to watch our football and we should be able to be excited about it. That's all I want.
Yeah, exactly. And again, to give people an insight into that Bruges game in particular, where we come on and we were, I wouldn't say we were dreading it, but we were like, this is not going to be pleasant, right immediately after the Bruges game away.
And remember, 17,000 people watched us live have that discussion. It's not always easy.
No, I know. And my point being, that's exactly what I was going to do, is talk about the numbers. And in total, by the time you add viewers and listeners to live and all the rest of it, the best part of 60,000 people have watched that, Stevie. So it shows you that the emotion is there, and we're not any different from anybody else. And it's one thing, you said that about it's your way or the highway. That's not the case at all, because at the end of the day, this is a team, and we all have, you know, the management team in here has a say in what goes on. And the comments, I keep saying this about this, the comments give me a laugh sometimes. Then some of them will get personal, some of them will this. But see, in general, I've got to say this: everybody's entitled to their opinion. If you're going to come on and batter me personally, that's fine. But it's kind of water off a duck's back, if you know what I mean. But the thing that I'm trying to say, Stevie, is that what we are trying to do is just relay as best we can how we feel. This is live, so and you know this as well as I do. There's some of the folk, some of the podders on Four Lads will come on and they're well prepped and they know exactly what they're going to say and they're well versed in the way the agenda's going to go. I write the agenda and forget about it, mate. Me and you'll come on here and just gibber for 45 minutes if we can. We don't take it too seriously in that sense. We'll just come on and do what we do, which is two mates having a chat. So, you know, if we're offending people, we don't mean it. That's kind of what I mean. We're just having a chat about where we see Rangers are at this minute in time.
We certainly don't come on to try and be negative, and it's certainly not a We Hate Russell Martin podcast. It's genuinely a podcast saying, please, going to just start winning so we can come on and have a laugh and enjoy it, and that's all we really want. But I'm going to move to got a few questions and things like that, Kenny, I want to bring up and have a discussion. Scott asks, won't win 1-0 with that high line. Does the high line continue? Do you go with a 3? Interesting. I don't think the high line can continue. I think if we go back to the 4-3-3 being as open as it was, then I think it's asking for trouble. And I think we have the players now where we can set up more defensively and more astutely and play just a bit more conservatively. You don't need to play 4-5-1 and shut up shop, but you can have a balance where instead of the defenders being on the halfway line, let them pull back 10 yards. Let them play with a high line, but within reason. Stevie G had a high line, by the way. I used to say Connor Goldson at times. I remember that Motherwell home game. Do you mind when we were 1-0 down and we really had to win? And Cedric Itten popped up, and I think Kamar Roof got 2. He got the first in the last one. Connor Goldson was playing as an 8 that day. So at times, you know, the defence are really high. I get that. But I think setting up that way and trying to push a game when we don't necessarily control a game is difficult. If you're controlling the game and controlling the ball, the way we did, in fairness, under Gerrard in that season, and it's a poor reference point, I know that, and I know it's tiresome for people, but that's the point. When we played our best stuff, we control games so we could be high. See, when we're not in control of it, I don't think we can play as openly, Kenny, and as high as that. So we might have to be more conservative. And Kevin Thelwell mentioned that it's really important we start winning. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've said, look, until we can bed them in and play the way you might want us to, we need to start winning games and be more conservative. Now, Celtic, for me, we were definitely arranged better. We were definitely more solid. The attacking side of it didn't work, and that's what we need to fix. But for me, you don't need to camp your defence at the edge of the box, but they don't need to be on the halfway line where Dundee exposed us. There needs to be a happy medium there for me.
Yep. I don't disagree with any of that, actually. It's okay to play this really high line. You see the Max Aarons red card away to Bruges, and that epitomises everything that's kind of wrong with that. Well, John Souttar's probably he's near the centre circle. He's near the edge of the centre circle in Bruges' half. Giga is on to the left of him, but still in their half. That's how high you're playing. Highly noticeable against Celtic that they were both in our half. Still high, but a good 10, 15 yards back from there. And that was probably to combat Maeda's piece more than anything else. That just being fully aware that one pass and he will be away, because you know, he's a speed merchant. We know that, particularly over 15 yards, you'll get away from just about everybody, Stevie. So this high line, I don't mind the high line, Stevie. The issue I've got at this moment in time is our passing ability is letting us down. We're giving the ball away in bad areas, and until we can do that, what we were promised in all this was the dominant football and attacking football. And until you can keep the ball for really long periods literally like 3 and 4 minutes at a time, where that other team, your opponent, can't get it off you. I would rein that really, really high line back a little bit. I would just bring it back 10, 15 yards. And I think that 10, 15 yards makes it perfect.
I was going to say to you, and this is interesting from Bluebells, because I was going to actually talk about this. If Martin would just start addressing some basics, then over time, if his approach thinks he can work better, bed it in, but base it off the back in those fundamentals, do you think we've tried to go from A to Z too quickly instead? Because he's had to do so much, right? He's had to knit in, what do we get, 13 odd signings. He's had to put out the majority of the squad. I think 10, whatever left, but he's lost some big players in that. Have we just went too quickly? Should he have done what Bluebells had said, or will he start doing that? Will he maybe have an epiphany and think, right, maybe I just have to bed it in, so he does be a wee bit more pragmatic in the build-up to that? Do you think that's possible? Do you think we have tried to do it too quickly? Because it is, look, it was a hell of a job, and it is so much to turn around a culture and a club and change the dressing room and try and get it the way he wants it. And, by the way, get them playing on the park and everyone buying into it without getting results. It hasn't helped them, obviously. But is there a chain of thought to think, be more pragmatic, rein it in a bit and start bedding it in like Bluebell suggests?
Yeah, up to a point. I just think that the changes that he's trying to make, I think going from A to Z, as you say, in one straight line, maybe it isn't working at this particular moment in time. But we were warned about this for Southampton fans, that the first couple of months it will be absolutely horrible to watch. They did tell us that, Stevie. It will be dreadful, and you'll not know what's happening. The only thing I would say, I said this last week on here, I do feel that when you're making this amount of changes to a squad and you're changing a style of play and the environment that the players are now coming into, when you look at the amount of young players that haven't played in an environment like this, where it is absolute must-win, and it's must-win every single game, twice a week, that is high-pressure, high-intensity football that I think sometimes managers or head coaches need to do this incrementally. You can't go from, as you say, A to Z. You need to go A to B, C, D, and then you can skip some when you start to see, as Bluebells says, the basics. Once the basics of your formation and your style of play start to become natural to them, I think you can jump steps then, but not at the moment, because the simple fact is we've played 4 league games, we've drawn them all, and we need to win games, Stevie. It's Rangers you're at, and trying to get all of this when it's all young kids, or not all young kids, but the majority are young boys that are coming to a new city. It's a football mad city, where there's no escaping it. With the pressure and intensity I've talked about, Stevie, there has to be an understanding from everybody on the coaching staff that perhaps you're trying to just rush everything a little bit too quickly, where you've still got to give these boys time to bed in. But as I say, I do feel that this squad's capable of what he's trying to do. I have no doubt in my mind. So it's a tough one, because Russell Martin might look at it and say it's pointless trying to go A, B, C, D. I'm just going to keep battering the same line and doing the same things over and over and over again in terms of repetition, and it comes. Which he's the coach, mate. He stands or falls by this. So that's where I would say, personally, I would maybe do it a little bit slower, but he might not see it that way at all.
Oh, for Walter, and 7 at the back and a 1-0 win any day of the week, I tell you. Natalie asks, we get any idea when Martin is having his chat with Nico Raskin needs sorted for the weekend? I don't want to dwell on this too much, because we have spoke a hell of a lot about Nico Raskin. We've got points that we've given. What I will say is the players are back tomorrow. The international players are all back tomorrow. So I should imagine that we'll hear about this in the press conference on Friday, because like it or not, it's going to be top questions. So I am not there. I've said this before. I've now got a new job, so I won't be at press conferences anymore. The only chance I'll really get to speak to the manager is on match days after the match. I would certainly intend to ask him about Nico Raskin on Saturday, but I would rather be asking him about a strong Rangers performance and win. So that's there for consideration. But we're going to find out what's happening. I just don't know. I know what I want to happen, which is the two of them sit down and they sort it out, and two of them, because it needs both, and to fix it, because that's the best thing for Rangers, and that's all we really want. Kenny, I'll not ask you on that because we spoke about it a lot the other day, but I do want to ask you on this one. I hope you've seen it, because I found this quite interesting. The thoughts about the leaked document regarding Leeds' investment and more links with Red Bull. It talks predominantly on Leeds' £300 million worth of investment in players, but there's heavy kind of discussion surrounding leaning more on Rangers' partnership, Rangers getting more involved with Red Bull. We talked about this in the summer when they talked about Red Bull. It almost seems inevitable that Red Bull will put money into this football club, and they will sponsor something. I think that's, looking at it outside, from the outside in, it looks almost inevitable to me that they will go down that route, and you'll find the stadium. And by the way, I don't care what Ibrox Stadium is called, because it'll be Ibrox to me and everybody else. And if we're getting an extra 20 million a year, I can live with it being the Ibrox Red Bull Arena or whatever they want to do. But that's deviating slightly. But what did you make of that today, and what's your thoughts on the comments? It's difficult. You don't want to venture, I think, into being a feeder club, but more transfer dealings, more. That's interesting to me.
What did I make of it? I just feel that it's one of these things that it's going to be kind of inevitable. We're what they call it, a sister club or something like that these days. Now, Leeds are always going to be Leeds, and Rangers are always going to be Rangers. However, if you're coming under the one umbrella, it's a little bit like the City Group and stuff like that now, where this is the modern way of football, I'm afraid, whether you like it or not. I think, Stevie, it's just the way it's going to be. The only thing I would say about this stuff with Leeds, and certainly in terms of feeder club, I think Rangers have actually got way more potential than Leeds will ever have, even in the Premier League. I don't ever see Leeds being a dominant force in English football. To do that will cost them from this point on. Bearing in mind they've lost, and I keep saying this, it's part of the reason why Scottish football is where it is that the Premier League started in 1992, Stevie. Our TV deal went tits up about 2010, if I remember right. So we've had 30 years of getting 33 years of getting way less money than the English Premier League. Leeds are the same. They've had 20 years of no Premier League money. And that 20 years of no Premier League money and the sponsorship money that you can accrue if you're a top club in England, it makes it very, very difficult for a Leeds and an Aston Villa, the two prime examples of two clubs that when I was a boy were massive, massive football clubs. I think it makes it almost impossible to become a top 4, top 5 club down there these days. Even Newcastle are struggling with all the money. And that's where, for me, with Rangers, we talked about this before, as you say. The Red Bull thing is probably an absolute certainty, really, if you think about it. It's the same with certain, merchandise deals and stuff like that. Everything's going to change over the next year or 18 months, I would think. We're going to see massive, massive changes. There is hints and rumours and chat about the stadium redevelopment and stuff like that. Now, that doesn't come free. That's going to cost literally hundreds of millions of pounds.
I thought I was going to have to help you out there with your words.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't come for nothing, mate. So the money's got to come from somewhere. So these sponsorship deals are going to happen whether we like it or not. That's where I see that heading.
Davey asks, what do you think Russell Martin needs to achieve to get the majority of fans to change their mind? Better football, a few wins, 10 wins, a trophy. Right. Honestly, for me, a lot of fans are set in their ways. It would take a hell of a lot to turn it round for Russell Martin. I think a league title would be the only one. The only manager I've ever seen turn around fan opinion is Alex McLeish. Alex McLeish won a treble, and in the second year, we were utterly hopeless. His second full year, he done a double, and when he took over, a treble, and then we were hopeless. And fans wanted him out, and he returned back, and we won a double. And and won that at Helicopter Sunday at Easter Road. And you know as well as I do, Alex McLeish was done and dusted in that season. In fact, there was an early game. We went up to Aberdeen in the League Cup, and people were saying if we'd lost that, then we would have been out, because we'd been beaten early by CSK Moscow in the Champions League. We had drawn a couple of games at home. I think we drew in Aberdeen the first game of the season, so we were already behind. Got beat by Celtic 1-0, and went to Aberdeen and won 2-0. Fernando Rickson scored a wonderful free kick, and Stevie Thompson scored one, and Bob Malcolm got sent off. I remember it because I was up there, and that changed everything. And what does Russell Martin need to do? There'll be some that won't ever give him the benefit of the doubt. He could win 10 in a row, and then 10 games in a row in the first draw, people will say that's why we need him out. Realistically, Russell Martin needs to go on a winning run of games, but also he needs to make it better on the eye for us, that we can start to believe in it, that he starts to build momentum, and that can only happen, a game at a time, starting Saturday for me, Kenny.
What he needs to do, mate, is progress this team as quickly as he can. We have to see progress. We have to see trophies in the cabinet. Big shiny things are what helps. Big silver shiny things always help. So he's got a game in a couple of weeks against Hibs. It's going to be a tough one. And if he doesn't win that, that's going to put even more pressure on him. What's he got to do, Stevie? You talked about Alec McLeish. Now, Alec McLeish at that point was going through a period where the club was downsizing on everything, if you remember, and even that got him no patience. We're in it. We're scaling up at this minute in time, so that's where the impatience, I think, is really came from. In terms of Russell Martin not being anybody really first choice. He starts from behind an 8 ball at the best of times. But to be honest, Stevie, what he's got to do is win games, build this team. I'll say this again for the third time tonight. I think he's got a good squad of players there. The onus and the responsibility is now on him to make it look good, to play nice football. But first, most importantly, is to win games. And with all respect to the Premier League, it's not that hard to win games, Stevie. It's the Premier League. There's teams here we are, without a shadow of a doubt, we have better players in. Go and prove it. So that's what he has to do. Trophies. That's what he's got to do, mate. It is that simple. You can't tell anybody any lies about that. He has to win plenty of games and win trophies. It's the only thing that keeps you as the Rangers manager. You're in your 40s and I'm in my 50s, mate. We know how this works. Everybody who's watching this knows how this works. You have to win games regularly, and you have to win things, or you don't last here.
Early 40s, may I add. Early 40s. I'm only 42 this year. End of the year as well. Plenty of time left, maybe. Kelso said, thank goodness social media wasn't around in 1991, otherwise Walter would never have been appointed. Yeah, I mean, look, do our fans overreact on social media? We were having a hairy fit today because we hadn't wished Jerry Gassama happy birthday, and it needed fan media to come out and say he doesn't actually want it. Do we overreact to stuff? I'll let you all decide. Kenny, it's been some chat, but I'm going to end with something that I'm quite excited about. People will know that Kamar Roof came on the podcast a couple of weeks ago with Derek. And I will point out that Kamar was fantastic. Kamar didn't ask for a payment. Everybody that's come onto this pod has done it by themselves. Now, we've sometimes gifted them something nice as a thank you. We'll offer to make a donation to charity or something. And a lot of them will say, okay, but do it quietly. I don't want it publicised, or they'll reject any kind of payment. What we did for Kamar is we said to Kamar, would you like a payment? Is there anything we can do? He said no. So I went back to him and we bought some of his 2/2 player journals. Now, most of you will have seen Kamar on his socials and things talk about that. These are here. Kamar's actually signed these. So we have 3 of these to give away, which we're going to do to members, to our YouTube members. All you have to do, if you want one of them, is keep an eye out on the spit it out, Stevie. Keep an eye out on the website, and I'll put up a wee competition, and it'll be for YouTube members, just as a thanks for all your support. What it is basically, it's a player journal. I actually bought one for my youngest. My youngest is 8, and he plays football in goals, and he's honestly, he loves it, and it'll be great for their kind of development and tracking. It's basically a diary. That's the easiest way. I don't know if you can see perhaps how clear this is, but it's kind of like that's what it is every day. It gives you a wee diary and things like that. And that's what Kamar's doing now. So Kamar has signed 3 of them, sent them up. I paid for them, and we bought them as a thank you to him. So please watch out for that, our YouTube members, as well as checking out, as I said, we have the Jock Wallace documentary, which is sensational. We have interviews, we have extra shows and things on there. So if you're a YouTube member, please keep an eye out. We'll also do the Black Rooster competition for the Hearts game on Saturday. Nobody's won that yet because it's everybody's tip Rangers win and stuff like that, and we haven't been able to get a win yet. But we'll go again with the predictions in the first scorer. So if you're a member, keep an eye on that. But Kenny, I'm quite excited about that. It was good of Kamar to sign them. We ordered them. He said he would sign them and send them up. He did. So that's a great thing. But honestly, I cannot believe we've gibbered on for 50 minutes for a show that we had nothing to talk about. Thanks to the viewers for the questions. It really helped us out as well.
On the Kamar Roof thing, that looks a cracking piece of kit, mate. I don't know if you recall, but I asked Andrew very nicely if he would send me the link when we were on, the 3 of us, and you said don't give him it. And I woke up. I don't know. It was, yeah, you did. And I woke up the next morning at about 6:30, and Derek had sent me the link, and he said, "Don't tell the rest of the management." And I sat and I watched it, and it's a brilliant interview. Kamar is a top guy. I could listen to him about football all day. Some of the stuff that he was explaining about when he was a young kid, that he'd went to Iceland and stuff like that, I had no idea about, and how intimidating would that be as a young boy to go to a place like Iceland when you're 18 years of age and on your own, when you still live with your mum and stuff like that, you know. It was just a brilliant interview, and good luck to him with his future endeavours, because I have all the time in the world for Kamar Roof. And for me, as I say, one of the most unfortunate but best strikers I've seen up at Ibrox in the last 10-15 years, mate. A top player, just blighted by injury, and I'll always blame Bielsa for that, for boosting him in training.
I'm going to say 2 things that are really quite hurtful for me. In both European finals that I've witnessed in my lifetime, we were undone by 2 things. Daniel Kuzan not being available in Manchester. Now, he might not have swung it, but Daniel Kuzan on form was the type of guy that could have done something special. And Kamar Roof not being fit in Seville. And that's the God's honest truth. Kamar Roof, when he came on, changed that game for the last 10 minutes or so, but that's all he could give us. You all remember he nearly set up that goal for Ryan Kent, which was a point-blank show-up, unbelievable save, and that's the margins, I think, Kenny. But anyway, listen, folks, thank you so much. Please check out the stuff we've got online. If you haven't liked and subscribed, then that really helps us. If you could do that, we're well over 10,000 subs now, which is great for us. It helps us because see, when we go to ask players to come on, and which we're always trying to do, then it really helps us because we can say, well, we do have a following. This is the kind of numbers we get, and it'll be really worthwhile things to do. We have reached out to a number of ex-players, and we're hoping to get more on to continue the Rangers players' years as well. So thank you. If you've done that, great. If you haven't, please consider doing that. If you want to join the podcast and help support us for as little as 99p a month, you can subscribe. It's on our YouTube page. There's a bit that says follow and a bit that says subscribe. It is 99p. Thank you to Bluebells, who's gifted 5 of the 4 Lads memberships. If you manage to grab one, you get a little insight into what it's like. So thank you, Bluebells, for your support as always. On behalf of Kenny and I, thanks to the sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Affle Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditions, and our partners, Black Rooster and Stu and the team at Art of Gold. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great couple of days. We'll be back Friday night, because what else would there be to talk about Rangers? And then we'll probably be able to preview Hearts as well. We're on the gantry on Saturday, myself and Davey Heard. So we're hoping and praying for a strong Rangers performance. Have a great couple of days, and we'll see you Friday night for Friday Night Live. Take care, folks. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.